This is part 3 of Meeting the Client Where They're At, a 3-credit CE course with Touch of Earth Bodywork. And I am Earth. In part 3, we are going to discuss how to remain focused and present in a session. And so we discussed a lot of problems that arise in our practice in part 1, and so now we're going to go over some tools that we can use either in the studio or at home that will be helpful for us in our career. So to begin with, I want to talk about eye contact. They say that the eyes are the windows to the soul. When we engage with our client by making eye contact, first of all, we let them know that we're completely present with them. They see that we are focused on them and them only. The other reason that we should have eye contact is because we can gather a lot more information about the client than what they're sharing verbally. So body mechanics, any kind of nonverbal communication, such as moving their eyes around the room, they can show us that maybe the client is nervous or has anxiety, or that there's some other layers going on. So this is important to note before working on someone, because it also kind of gives us the information of how to address that body when it comes time for their session. So we want to show them that we're present, and we also want to gather information. And we also want to show them that we're receptive. If we continue to engage with eye contact with our client, they know that we're actually listening to them and comprehending what we're saying, rather than if we ourselves are showing nonverbal communication by not being present. So make sure that you know that eye contact is a great tool to show your client that you are here and now. Another great way of setting the mood in the session is to set the intention. So in order to stay focused and present, I really like using this tool. So certain ways that you can do this: if you're in a session and you set the intention, say if there's a prayer or just some words to yourself, it can even be in your mind of what you're saying, just some sort of setting the intention for that client. You're setting the tone for the session. And so some ways that this can look is setting the intention for that person to experience pain relief, setting the intention for them to have anxiety or depression release, the intention for them to have more mobility, for them to feel, rest and relaxation. That's a pretty simple and explanatory one. For most people, that's what they come for. To set the intention for peace. If the person has a lot of trauma or they're going through a lot emotionally, you can set the intention for them to experience peace. So whatever comes up for you, or whatever they specifically ask for, great way to set the intention in the beginning of a session. This is also a great way of weaving the theme into the session. So if at any time you're zoning out or have lack of concentration, you can come back to your intention. And so that continues to strengthen the tone of the theme of the session, and also helps you remain present and focused on what you're doing. Grounding. That's a really important one that most people know how to navigate in their lives, or know that they need to navigate that in their lives. So we are human beings who are in our heads a lot, even on our phones. We're very cerebral, and a lot of energy goes up towards our top of our body. And so a lot of times we lose connection with the earth. And so when we're not grounded and we're all up and spacey, the client can feel this. They can feel, again, if you're zoning out, you're up in the head, or you're somewhere else, you're not grounded, and that energy transfers to the client, even if it's subconscious. So we want to focus on grounding activities so that we ourselves are grounded in general for our own health and well-being, and so also that we're again bringing that grounded energy into our session so that our client can also ground into the table and relax and really feel coming back to earth. So what are ways that we can do this? So we can walk barefoot, which is called earthing. It's a great way of getting your body, your skin on the ground and really feeling nature, having all those ions in the earth kind of come into your body. You're feeling the texture of the earth by really engaging with it. So that's the best way to ground. Just get your feet on the earth or roll around in the ground. Just be out in nature, but really feeling the component of nature. Other ways to do this is just imagination. So we do this a lot in meditations, just focusing on grounding. So some ways that this can look is if you're pretending you are a rock or just feeling the essence of a tree. I like to say the best way, besides earthing, but the best way, other best way to ground is just be the tree. Just, if you don't have time to go and run and hug a tree or touch a tree, just imagine being the tree and feeling your roots really rooted into the earth. And really feel your whole foot on the ground, both feet really planted on the earth when you feel this, and feel that energy seep down into the earth. Using that visualization is also going to help your whole body really feel that and know that experience and be able to transfer that into your session. Also, you can meditate on the chakra system, specifically the root chakra. This is the chakra that is in the very base of your spine at the coccyx. It's usually depicted as a red color. So a lot of times people like to carry red stones or even wear red just to kind of enhance that frequency and that vibration of that chakra. By being more aware of that chakra and what it represents as stability, foundation, and just being grounded on the earth plane, you're incorporating that into your field, which then again your client can subconsciously pick up if you're continuing to really enhance that vibration in the session. Other stones that are often used for grounding are hematite, as well as other kinds of magnets. If you just have magnets on you or hematite, these are also ways to just come back to the earth, really feel that really energy that's grounding you down like a magnet would. Biomats are also really great ways to really get your body yourself back into your body. They have amethyst biomats or tourmaline. Black tourmaline is another stone that is also good for grounding. They're embedded in these biomats or grounding mats, as they also are called, and you can get little ones for your feet if you that you can. If you're at a desk for whatever reason or sitting watching television, you can have a grounding mat to have on your feet, or you can also have large ones that are about the size of a massage table when you can lay on that and take a biomat nap. And again, those ions, they're just helping your body to relax, helps sleep, helps reduce anxiety. There's a lot of actual benefits that you should do some research on with biomats. Great way to get the body to ground. It's a great maintenance tool. Also, Tai Chi. Tai Chi is also a great way of connecting with energy and also being able to ground yourself by navigating that energy throughout your body. And so being more in your body is also the experience of just feeling more grounded because your body resides here on the earth plane. So these energetic tools, bringing the energy flow into your system, keeps you back in your body, which ultimately helps you ground. You also might want to think about your diet. A lot of times you might, proteins or root vegetables are great ways of, again, making sure that you're rooted, eating beets, carrots, turnips, these kind of vegetables that come from the earth, like grown in the earth. they are great ways of, again, incorporating that frequency and that vibration into our life. So a lot of times people like to eat root vegetables during the fall and during the winter, because that's when they typically are grown, but you can eat them all year round, and with the intention for yourself to be grounded, that fuel for your body will be, you are what you eat. So you are that root, that grounded energy. You also might want to consider doing leg exercises, some extra squats, or some extra different kinds of, there's so many different kinds of, aerobic exercises and yoga exercises that are great for the legs. So this is, I think, important for massage therapists to remember to keep grounded with their feet and use their legs. I had made the mistake for years. I didn't realize that I wasn't really using my legs in my session. I actually took my hips and would push them against the table when I would do certain maneuvers on a body. And I wasn't actually really grounded in my legs. And after almost 13 years of practice of doing this, I actually slid into an injury with it was a sciatic issue that occurred with some other muscles in the groin as well as in the back. But it was this whole twisting motion that I had done for years and I never really realized. And as I received therapy and started working back toward my health, I started doing more leg exercises. And I'm a runner as well, so I always thought I had strong legs, but the more I actually worked on my legs, I really realized that I hadn't been using my legs. So make sure that you're using your legs in the session. You might even want to get down in a little squat during, using the feet, really planning the energy and pushing and using that as your compass to be able to work that around the table with the client. So use your legs and use leg exercises to make sure you're grounded and that you're not using too much of other parts of your body. And that will help you out quite a bit. And yeah, just making sure that you use your whole foot when you walk. So a lot of times we walk so fast we don't realize that we're not using the heel, or we're not using the toes at all. Use the whole foot. Even when you stand at the grocery store, a lot of times we move on one side and all that weight's on one leg and not the other. So we want to make sure that we're always using our feet. So make sure, especially in the session, if you're using your whole feet, and even throughout the day, just keep making sure that you're using your whole feet or your whole foot, because that's going to translate that energy every time you are using you're landing on the ground. That information travels up to your body. So if you're a little bit off, again, that information travels up to your body and the signals are going to be a little skewed if you're not actually 100% grounded. So being sure throughout the day and in your practice, but also throughout the day, making sure that you're using your whole foot, you're going to be able to use that more in your practice, and it's going to benefit everyone involved. Another thing to remember too is when you're walking into a session, you're walking into someone's energetic field. So you can actually check this with a dowsing rod. They have these metal dowsing rods. You'll walk up to a person and it will start to open up as it reads the auric field around the body. So when you're walking into a session, you're walking into that field. So be very present of how you walk in. Just be mindful that even if you haven't touched the client yet, you've touched their energetic field. It's a very sensitive time for them. They're most likely nude on the table and they're about to be touched all over by you. And so remember that you come into that room. Be aware of how you come in. Don't rush right in and just get to work. Come in with mindfulness. Be present of what you're doing and that you are already impacting them when you walk into the room. So that presence and awareness right when you come in is going to set the stage for the rest of the session, as well as the first touch. A lot of people have trauma, or a lot of people might not They don't know you. Women might not normally work with men, and then they have a male therapist, or vice versa. So there's a lot of underlining things that could be occurring for them that you don't know about. So always approach the body with caution. First touch is everything, so make it meaningful. Make sure that you're really sliding in and melding with the client, and that you're not rushing and amplifying their system with fast movements right away. You really want to make sure that you meld with the client right when you walk in the room and right with the first touch. That shows that you're really present and aware for them, and they will immediately know that. Yeah, always move with grace and ease is the other thing I'd like to add here. And we mentioned this before, but I just want to recap. Make sure that you always check in with your client. Make sure you check in not only for their empowerment, but also just to show to them that you're still present, that you're not drifting off, that you're still there. By asking them those little questions of how's this pressure, it's also asking, hey, are we still together? So, great way of staying present is to check in. And also, especially if they make vocal sounds, that was another indication that you might want to check in as well. Anytime they make a noise that doesn't sound right or good, a lot of times clients will moan because they're enjoying it. But if there's one of those moans or sounds that they're a little off, make sure you check in there as well. So the breath is another great way for you to check in with yourself as well as the client to check in with themselves. So a lot of times clients will hold their breath or they will have shallow breathing. This is an indication that they are also cerebral. They're up in their head. They're zoning out somewhere. So helping them come back to the breath helps them come back into their body as well. And same goes for you. If you notice that you are holding your breath or that you are zoning out somewhere, a great way to come back is to come back to the breath. Same thing when you do that, you can also come back to your intention. This kind of practice is going to make you stay more present and be able to concentrate more on what you're doing in the session. So make sure that you always are breathing, that they're breathing, that the life force, that vital energy is being circulated in the session from both of you. And that way there's going to be more healing involved. If either one of you are stuck with the life force, if without the breath, then the whole energy is not moving in the session. And it's true for both of you because you're melding together. So yes, there's a boundary there that you are still not taking on their stuff, but you're melding, and so that life force, that energy is still circulating. So make sure that you both are doing that so both everyone is getting the most maximum benefits in the session. Always check in with your ego as well. That's another one that we have talked about earlier, and I feel it's important to just bring that back up too. In the session, don't do more than you think you can just because your client needs it. Know where your limits are. If you're not feeling like doing a whole bunch of Thai massage stretches on a client and that's what they need that day, you can refuse that session that day, or be honest with them and tell them that that's not where you're at and that you can't provide that service for them that day. Don't overdo it. Don't, because you had 5 or 6 sessions that day, do another one because the client wants this work and you want a paycheck. That's not ethical behavior. You need to make sure that you're meeting them where they're at by refusing the session because that's not where you're at. So check in with your ego and make sure that it's something that, especially if you hadn't eaten breakfast or slept that night and you don't have the reserves, you have to be respectful to yourself and then be able to honor them as well by not just letting your ego take the ship here. So always check in, and again, make sure that your client knows that you're not going to fix them, that you're going to help them. And it is a great thing to be confident in your work. There's nothing wrong with knowing that you're a great massage therapist, and there's nothing wrong with being confident in that. But there is something wrong with being a little arrogant about that, or even pretentious, or any of those negative traits with the ego of knowing that you're the best at what you do, that's not balanced, and that's going to send some misinformation and might lead to negative expectations, or might lead to uh, someone being disappointed because their expectations weren't met. So make sure that you're very careful, that you stay present and focused by keeping your balanced ego. Now we're going to talk about debriefing. So debriefing is when you are doing the outtake for the client. And this is a great way for your client to know who you are and trust you and hopefully rebook with you. The best way to show the client that you were completely present and completely concentrated on their body in the session is to give them the most details that you can during the debriefing outtake. The more concentrated you are, the more you can see the patterns of the body, of how that specific body operates. You can see what's going on, and then by observing all of that information, because you have been present with them, you can share with them, hey, I noticed that your pectoral muscle is really coming in on the left here. I think we need to work more scaling work as well as pec work next time. And then maybe in a couple weeks we can get more to that hip issue you were talking about as well, because I see that there's a tug there. I think it's both of them playing together. By showing them that you know what you're talking about because of your observation, they're more likely to rebook. They're more likely to understand and comprehend what you're saying when you're making eye contact as well. So make sure that you know that if you are in a session with someone, rather than zoning out and just doing a basic massage because you have 5 that day and you're just doing the do less appointments and spend more time on the quality by really spending that time and energy engaged with your client during the session, so you can share that information with them in the outtake, and then they're more likely to book with you afterwards. Always follow the body when you're working on them. Really pay attention to what their body's telling you as well, because you'll be amazed if you just work on a body, on an area that they told you to, but your intuition, if you keep strengthening that, it will tell you other parts of the body to go to, and then your practice only strengthens by exercising those tools. So be really present on the different levels that are going on during a session. You'll be better at your practice, and you'll be serving people even more with the information that you gather. So, okay, now we're going to talk about self-care. We're going to talk about some different ways for you to have self-care for yourself, which again is going to translate into your practice. And we touched a little bit on this now, but now we're going to go into a little bit more detail of how you can take care of yourself so that you can best serve your clients and meet them where they're at. So, different ways of self-care are general exercise. I personally love to run, so going for a run is a great way of cardiovascular health, to release the day and to create some extra blood flow and get your body circulating. You can also do a stretching routine. That I really recommend. It doesn't have to be yoga if you're not into doing a yoga practice, but just stretching, especially in the morning, it makes such an impact on the rest of the day. The more that your joints have range of motion and that your muscles are elongated, you have more flexibility and movement during your session. So I remember one time I hadn't had a Thai massage for weeks. I hadn't seen anyone, and I had a Thai massage that day, and it was a 2-hour Thai massage, and I gave a 2-hour Thai massage to this man, really tall, big dude, and I hadn't had a yoga practice for a while. It was after my injury. I hadn't been doing yoga, and I just went right in and did this 2-hour Thai massage, and I was in so much pain. it was, the next couple days my body was not really happy with me, and I knew it was because I didn't care for my body beforehand. And so after that, when he had come back to get a session, I made sure to have my yoga practice that morning. And man, that was such a great Thai massage. It was so much easier to work on his body because I cared for my body first. And so please take this advice. Make sure that you are stretching or taking care of yourself. It doesn't have to be every day, although ultimately that would be ideal. But as long as you're doing an occasional maintenance for your body with exercise or stretching, your body's really going to notice such a huge impact in a positive way. Also, we talked about Tai Chi, Tai Chi or Qigong, either way. These energy techniques are great ways, again, to get the Qi moving in the body. So again, it's another system of the body, but you're still moving energy. And so stagnant energy isn't really alive. So when we move energy, we're creating that life force within us to have more vitality. Meditation is another one. So we don't need to sit in a lotus position and do an hour of meditation. It's not necessary for everyone. There's lots of different types of meditation. In fact, some people like to just have a hula hoop meditation, just really going inward, working with the circle. There's lots of different ways you can meditate. You can sit, you can lay down on your biomat. You can use an app. There's lots of different meditation apps. They'll guide you through with guided meditation. You can sit in silence. You can listen to CDs. You can listen to just music. And you also can choose your duration. If it's just 5 minutes in the morning or the evening, and then work your way up to maybe 20 minutes a day. However you want to do it, that's best for you, and it can change because we are always changing, so our practice can always change. The point of meditation is to make sure that you come to a point of stillness within. So even in hula hoop meditation, if you're moving around a lot, you're still finding that midline within your core. So with other types of meditation too, we're just quieting the mind from any excess stimulation around us and just going inward and feeling what the inner core, the midline is. The most popular way of meditating is to just focus on the breath. In Reiki, a lot of practitioners put our hands in Gashao position, which is prayer hands, and focus on the two middle fingers in the middle and just breathe in and out, continuing to have our focal point right at those tips that are meeting. Some people like to focus on the tip of their nose. Some people like to focus on the mudras that they have in their hand, which also indicate different meridians, or there's different reasons for different mudras doing different things for the brain. So you might want to look into that. Some people, and when they meditate, they really are just praying. Some people pray or meditate with mala beads, which are 108 beads that go around. Could be crystals, or I think they're called raksha beads that go around, and you meditate with that. So it's just a helpful tool. Also, there's rosary beads that Catholics like to meditate and pray to. So whether it's crystals or beads or hula hooping or just focusing on your breath, however you want to do it, as long as you're meditating, that's the key, as long as you're finding that stillness. And the point is concentration. The more you meditate, the more you concentrate and create stillness within yourself and focus. So there's no stress in how you do it. It's just if you take time during the day to do it. We have 24 hours in the day, and if you just took a sliver of about 5 to 20 minutes a day for that practice, you're creating a nice pause in the middle of the day. And sleeping doesn't really count. It does count with restoration and creating peace within the self, but we want to, during our waking day, take a sliver to just make that conscious effort to just shut the brain off and go in. Some people like to take naps, and that's also a great way of restoring the body. But being consciously aware and focusing on just the breath gives this invitation for you to actually be with your body, And the more that you're with your body, the more you're able to really be receptive to other bodies. It's a fact. So consider a stillness practice. Consider just for 5 to 20 minutes a day, just meditating or be within your body so that you can be more calm and centered in yourself. Acupuncture is another great modality. It's a great way of opening up all the meridians in the system. It's also I believe, the same meridians that are worked on in shiatsu. Any kind of dry needling, if you're into that. Any of those modalities too for health and well-being are great ways to just do maintenance for yourself, even if it's just once a month. Of course, massage. We're massage therapists. We should be getting massages. We tell our clients that's a great idea to get a massage a month. We should be doing the same for ourselves. When we get a massage, we aren't just receiving self-care, but we're also studying. I love treating massage. In fact, for 1.5 years, I traded a massage once a week. It was a great way of having this special time with another practitioner, of like bonding, as well as my self-care, as well as learning of how they approach the body. And usually I would like to take one of their techniques and then I would use that in my sessions that week to try it out. So if you want more tools in your toolbox, go get more massage. Just try out and take care of yourself in different ways and learn how different people approach the body. It's really fun and it feels really good. So do that for yourself. It's a 2-for-1 modality for you. Receive self-care and study at the exact same time while bonding with your fellow friend practitioner. I also really suggest baths. It's a really great way to relax the body, especially with Epsom salts. We get all the detoxification, all the toxins come out of the body with using Epsom salts. Magnesium is great for our muscles. So really consider taking a bath maybe like once a week to just relax from the day. We are very physical in our line of work, and so the more that we care for our bodies and come to that rest time as well, then we're able to better serve. So really consider some of these self-care tactics of diet and rest and exercise and enjoying a bath here and there. It's something that we deserve. So this is just great ways to make sure that we're caring for ourselves and taking care of our clients. Okay, so we must remember too during self-care that the more that we are a healthy vessel, the more that we can have healing energy come through us to help people. The more healthy we are, the more that we're going to be able to serve them. If you are eating fast food and smoking cigarettes and just really polluting your body, no shame to you. However, these things, this toxicity is going to just impact your body in a negative way. And so you won't be able to perform as well. If you are eating more of a clean diet and exercising and moving the energy in your body and hydrating really well, you're more likely to have better energy reserves and be able to meet your client more where they need you to be and where they want to be. So really consider your lifestyle. If you are practicing what you preach, the more healthy you are, the more that you can serve them. So next we are going to go over an awareness activity. So earlier I had discussed about how our multitasking is not helpful for us, that we become masters of multitasking, which is really not a conducive way of living, that it makes more sense to take all the energy and focus on one thing at a time so that we can fully be present for that person, place, or thing that we are sending our concentration and awareness for. So in order to really remain present, there's this great activity that you can exercise throughout the day. So imagine that there is this, we'll say, ball of light or ball of whatever you want that ball to be. And that ball bounces around in your brain in different, let's say, boxes. The ball likes to go into different boxes. And all the boxes represent different things. So say it's your relationship or your job or your interest in food or your interest in animals or all the different things in your life, work, school, travel, your car, all cell phone, all the different things that pull your attention, all the different things that you think about during the day. And as Eckhart Tolle says, we are the observer of our mind, we are not the mind. So all these boxes, all these compartments is the mind. And the little ball of light, or whatever that ball is that you chose, that's bouncing around is your awareness. So you're observing your awareness go into all these different boxes. And notice that there's only one ball, and so it can't be in all the boxes at once. So throughout the day, notice where that ball is. What box is that ball in? And if you're in session and you realize that your ball is wondering about something else, it's wondering about your cat, then you need to bring that ball back into the massage room box. So just check in with yourself and always come back to where you are. Be present where you are. That ball should be where you are. So if you ever notice throughout the day that you are somewhere else, bring that ball back. That's a great exercise awareness tool for you to just check in and see where is that ball of awareness and bring it back to the present moment so that you're always exercising that concentration so you can be a master of concentration rather than a master of multitasking. So practice that. It's a great exercise. The more you do it, the easier it gets, the stronger your focal point gets, especially if you're meditating as well. And now we're going to talk about breath work. Breath work, breath work. Okay. I have a couple of breath work exercises I want to share with you. And these are important for you as well as for your client. Because like we discussed earlier, coming back to the breath is the key, not only to remembering that you're concentrating on what you're doing, but also that life force energy that comes through our body keeps us again more in that present moment. So whenever you're in session, you're zoning out, come back to the breath, come back to your attention, bring that ball of awareness back, and you are really being 100% attentive and meeting your client where they're at. So the first breathwork exercise is a yoga breathwork exercise that's called the 3-part Durga breath. And so what you do is you focus on the breath coming into the body in your nose. It expands the chest, the lungs, expands the diaphragm next, and then the third part, it will expand the belly. After that, those 3 parts, you pause. Then you deflate the belly, deflate the diaphragm, and then deflate the chest with another sweet pause. And this is something that you go back and forth doing in a rhythmic motion, breathing in, really expanding everywhere, and then really contracting everything on the exhale. The 3-part Durga gives you the opportunity to bring that breath wave to the different parts of your body that receive the breath the most. And then it also gives you that focal point of being able to control what's happening in your body. A lot of times we don't even realize how we're breathing. It's really shallow. But if you give the opportunity for everything to receive the breath, your body is actually able to operate more with better function because it's receiving more breath in areas that it hadn't. So remember, all the cells expand with the breath. That's another great thing that I love to say to clients as well as yoga students, is that remember, it's not just the lungs, it's actually not just the diaphragm or the belly either, it's all the cells that expand. So when you're doing the 3-part Durga, also know that everything is expanding as well, even if your focal point is here at this rhythm. So try that exercise out, see if that works for you. And practice that throughout the day, creating that breath flow to go in and out of your body as it moves down and up the torso. So breath work is important because we're allowing the breath to come into the body, go everywhere in our system to be able to enhance our cell bodies. And then on the exhalation, we're removing any toxins and debris that's in the system. So when the breath comes in and when it comes out, both movements are aiding the body. And so when we do breathwork exercises, not only are we bringing the life force in to fully expand and utilize our tissues and our organs more fully, and not only are we removing all the toxins and all that debris, but we're also creating this stillness practice, this awareness of our breath when we complement this with our meditation practice. The second breathwork exercise I'm going to teach you is called alternate nostril breathing. And so this is very popular in yoga as well because it really complements meditation practice. So I often like to suggest this breath work specifically if you're wanting to calm down the central nervous system, if you're ever elevated in mood such as angry or anxiety. This is a great tool for you. So how it works is you're going to take your first two fingers and you're going to place it in between your eyes and let your hands kind of relax downward. Your thumb is going to close the one nostril. And in the other nostril, you're going to bring in the breath. You're going to take your middle finger, close that nostril, and open the other one and breathe out. Breathing in. Close. Breathing out. In. Close. Out. And you just move back and forth in that rhythm and in that pattern to bring the breath in one nostril, exhale, breathe it in, exhale, going back and forth. This helps the hemispheres of the brain to be able to focus more clearly by exercising both directions. And it's also just a meditative practice, like I said earlier, just to go back and forth and not to think too much about what you're doing because it's a simple task, but just to move in that flow will help, again, your body just come back to a homeostasis, gentle state of being. So try that one out. Try it with your clients. Have them experience it for themselves. Again, the more you do it, the more you're going to calm your body, the more you're going to find that state of peace, the more you're going to focus on the breath, which is going to focus more on concentration, which is going to focus more on being in the body, which is going to ground you. So there's so many benefits by just focusing on what we're doing with the breath, allowing that breath wave to go in and throughout the body, allowing the body to receive the breath through all the cells, allowing to be able to focus on the breath. No matter what you do, if you're in a stillness practice and just focusing on the in and out of that breath, you're doing your body quite a bit of favor. So try that out, have your clients try it out, and see how you feel. So now this comes to conclusion of part 3. And so now we're just going to go over everything that we discussed here about being focused and present for your clients so you can really 100% meet them where they're at in the session. And so the best ways to do this are about eye contact, really establishing that engagement with their client so that they know that they're being heard and seen and that you're fully present for them. Same thing with setting the intention in a session. If you walk into that room, you set the intention, you keep coming back to that intention throughout the session, you're really keeping yourself focused on what you're doing. So this benefits the client, and it also helps you in your practice by strengthening your concentration to be present for each person that comes to see you. Also, make sure that you try grounding exercises. If you are a very cerebral person or really don't find yourself to be very grounded or present, you're going to want to try some grounding exercises, perhaps daily, whether it's getting your feet out in the dirt or imagination, eating root vegetables, however it works for you. Make sure that you're continuing to remember that your feet are planted here on the earth and to come back to that space so that you can really get the energy from the earth from your feet and be able to use that for your client. Melding with your client as well is a really great way of staying focused and attentive to your client. The first touch is usually going to set the tone for the session as well as you walking into that room. So just be aware of how you're engaged energetically with your client, that you're not just doing the actions, but you're really creating an energetic connection with them so you can really pick up on things that they really need as you follow the tissue. Make sure you check in with your client, not only for you to make sure you're still present with them, but also for them to know that you're still present and there for them and whatever that they need. Come back to the breath. The breath is always going to serve you, and it's always going to serve the client. So always make sure that that's a great focal point for you if you ever get lost in the session. And also make sure that you check in with their client and make sure that they're not too much in their head either, and that they're relaxed and present in the session so that they can receive the maximum benefits as well. Always check in with your ego. Make sure that you're not doing more than you should be doing and know where your limits are. It best serves you and it best serves them. Make sure that you're focused throughout the whole session so you have a lot of detailed information to share with your client during their outtake. This is a great opportunity for them to build that trust with you, to know that you know what you're talking about. The more you share with them, the more that they know that you're really on top of your game here, and they're going to come back. They're going to come back to someone who they know actually was completely present with them the whole session. So make sure that that is very important, that you just don't give them water and send them out the door, that you actually have a lot of information to share with them. And so that's going to help build your practice and help bring more clients to you who trust your work. Remember about self-care. The best way to stay focused and present is also to work on yourself. So make sure that you are a healthy vessel, great food, great rest, great exercise, whatever modalities that you like to receive. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself. If not weekly, daily. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself so you can take care of others to the optimal health, to your best. Meditation practice. Remember to continue to consider a stillness practice so that you can be more in your own body and find that peace throughout the day. And so instead of plowing through the day, you're making time throughout the day to check in with yourself, to check in with your breath, to make sure that you're practicing that stillness so that the more you do that, the more you're able to do that in your session, the more you're able to translate a meditative state in your work if you practice this strongly. Remember that awareness activity I told you about. Always have your observer find where that ball of awareness is and what box it is in the mind. And if it's not in the appropriate box during a session, bring it back. Bring it back with the breath. Bring it back with your intention. Great exercise. Just keep doing that, and you're going to create some great ethical boundaries for yourself. You're going to be able to really be there for your client if you continue to remember to come back to them, because that's what your work is really all about. And lastly, remember about breath work, all the different kinds of breath work that I shared with you that you can try out, see what works for you. and go ahead and practice it so that you are able to bring that life force more into your body. It's another form of self-care, and it's also exercise that you can actually share with your client. So thank you so much for joining me for these 3 videos and meeting the client where they're at. I hope that this was an enjoyable ethics course for you. So go ahead and take your 15-question questionnaire, and then once you pass that test, you'll get your certificate. So thank you again so much, and enjoy another 2 years of your practice. Namaste.
So the first thing I learned when I went to the monastery was to learn how the mind works. Because once you know how the mind works, you can control it. And once you can control it, you can focus it. You can't focus or concentrate something you don't understand.
When people say to me, life is too busy, I can't simplify, no, it's you don't want to. You have the choice. Nobody's holding a gun to your head saying, you have to associate with these people, you have to do these things. No, you choose to do them. People say this to me all the time. You know, I hang around with entrepreneurs and other people that you and I have met. They've come up with Snapchat. You need to be on Snapchat. I'm like, I don't need to be on Snapchat. I don't care what comes up tomorrow, I'm not going to do it. Because I can't sustain it, right? That's going to take a little bit more of my energy each day. And I only have this much energy, and I need to divide it between all the people and things that I love. Right? Law of thermodynamics states you cannot create or destroy energy, but you can transfer it from one thing to another or transform it from one thing to another. So I can't create more energy, I only have this much. Because come 11 o'clock tonight, I'll be exhausted and ready to sleep. So I got this much, 100%. I need to know where I'm dividing. I always tell entrepreneurs to look at energy the same way they look at money. It's a finite resource that needs to be wisely managed, wisely reallocated, and wisely invested.
The average person sleeps, what, 7 to 8 hours, to say, roughly. So we're awake for about 16 hours of the day. Let's just say on average we're practicing it 13 hours a day, 7 days a week distraction. And then you wonder why you're so good at it. That's the law of practice. The law of practice is that we become good at whatever it is we practice. Whether it's positive or negative, it doesn't matter. If you practice something over and over and over again, you become really good at it. And that's why people are so good at distraction, because it's what they practice. And then people say things like, technology are great distractors, right? Smartphones. Oh, I have this thing so distracting, my smartphone. The internet. Are they distractors? I'd like to say no first, and then yes. But mostly no. Technology in itself is not a bad thing. It's actually a beautiful thing, as long as we're in charge of it. But if every time your iPhone beeps or makes a sound and you turn to it and you go, yes, master, how can I serve you today? Then you live in that world of distraction. It's training you to be distracted. But if you actually use technology, then technology is not a bad thing. So how do we become good at concentrating? We start by understanding the mind, right? All of us have a mind. It's the most powerful tool in the world. It built a smartphone, it's put machines that drive itself on Mars. So the first thing I learned when I went to the monastery was to learn how the mind works. Because once you know how the mind works, you can control it. And once you can control it, you can focus it. You can't focus or concentrate something you don't understand. So how does the mind work? From the monk's perspective, from the monk's experience of the mind, there's two things that you need to understand. One is there's awareness, and one is the mind. So I'll take a few moments to explain this to you and share what they are. So imagine awareness as a glowing ball of light, like an orb that can float around, okay? So that's awareness. Now imagine your mind as a vast space, vast area with many different sections within it. One area of the mind is anger, jealousy, food, sex, happiness, joy, science, art. And this glowing ball of light called awareness can travel within the mind, and it can go to any area of the mind it wants to go to. And when it goes to a particular area of the mind, it lights up that area. When it lights up that area of the mind, you become conscious of it. And this is what happens all day. We allow people and things around us to take awareness from one area of the mind to another all day long. from the time we wake up, and therefore we become distracted. To be concentrated is to be able to keep your awareness on one thing for an extended period of time. How do we practice this? We practice this by doing one thing at a time throughout the day. What's the best way to develop concentration? The best way to develop concentration is to bring that practice into our everyday life. Look at opportunities throughout your day. In your average day, ask yourself, what's a great opportunity to practice concentration? How many of you have a spouse or partner that you live with? Quite a few of you. Every time you speak with your spouse or your partner, keep that ball of light, that awareness on that person. It drifts away, bring it back. It drifts away, bring it back. The more you practice this, the more you become better at concentration. Give her or him your undivided attention. So if you speak to your spouse for 2 hours a day, what a great opportunity to practice concentration. Every time you speak with your child, practice concentration. Parents come up to me all the time and say, Dandapani, how can I teach my children to concentrate? Very easy. You learn to concentrate first. You know, there's an old saying that goes, monkey sees, monkey do, you know? And if you can't concentrate, you can't expect your child to concentrate. And if you don't teach your children how to concentrate, how can they possibly learn how to concentrate? They can't. The benefits of concentration are endless, right? When you're able to concentrate, you're able to focus all your energy into a single given point. Life is a manifestation of where your energy is flowing. And if you can't concentrate your energy, the things that you want to manifest in your life becomes very, very challenging. So learn to concentrate by doing one thing at a time. Bring this practice into everything that you do throughout the day. Make it a part of your life. Practice, practice, practice. Keep bringing awareness back and keep it focused on one thing at a time.